Hi, everyone. We've got an exciting episode for you today. I'm really excited to get to talk about homeschooling with Kirk Cameron, a Christian actor and filmmaker. We'll be talking about his perspectives on homeschooling, why he believes there is a homeschool awakening happening today, which, by the way, is the name of his new movie. It will be in theaters June 13th and 14th. And the Homeschool Awakening movie is produced by CamFam Studios, which is his own production company and in partnership with TBN. So today's episode is perfect for new homeschoolers, for homeschoolers who may be on the fence and haven't quite decided if they want to start homeschooling, or even all of us experienced homeschoolers who've been at it for a while and may need a little inspiration. What I've seen so far of this movie, it's very inspirational. It reminds you of all of the amazing reasons that we started homeschooling in the first place. And so I'm excited today to hear what Kirk has to say. But before we dive in, it's kind of been interesting how the last few years, pre-pandemic, pandemic, all the political change and climate that we've had, the unrest. It's really been a lot of stuff that's happened over the last few years, and that actually has impacted homeschooling in a positive way. And I know, some may argue that homeschooling is this or it's that, or maybe we'll politicize it. And we're going to ask Kirk a little bit about that and his take on it. But you know what? In reality, the last 2 years have done a lot for homeschooling. Number one, it's made it more mainstream. People view homeschooling as a viable form, a method of education, whereas pre-pandemic, a lot of people viewed homeschooling as just something fringe people did, or people who are desperate, or somebody who had a sick child. Or maybe somebody who is ultra conservative. But the situation isn't that anymore. And it's very interesting to talk to a lot of people who are new to homeschooling and kind of get their perspective on this. But I also wanted to bring out today, homeschool.com does a monthly survey, and it's really interesting sometimes the statistics and things that come out in that survey. And so this past month, I kind of dug in and I wanted to see what was going on and, the stats and all that good stuff, because, I love numbers. But anyway, so I'm looking at it, and in our survey, our homeschool community responded that 90% of homeschool parents were planning on homeschooling in 2022-2023 school year. So that's huge. That's a lot of people. Now, our community isn't all homeschool families that are actively homeschooling. Our community is a mixed bag of new homeschoolers, experienced homeschoolers, homeschoolers that are thinking about homeschooling, homeschoolers that are about to start, so there's a mixed bag. So 90% to me, that was pretty huge. And then another interesting statistic that I wanted to share with you is that 33% of that 90% also admitted that they were now going to homeschool for life, which, we say that, but that typically means they're going to homeschool for the length of their children's education, which I found very interesting. So those statistics really reflect a lot of the real life conversations that I myself, as well as my team, have been experiencing with homeschool parents that, speak to us in social media, or the conversations that we have when we go to homeschool conventions. And so it's really interesting to see this amazing shift in our country, in our perspectives, in our viewpoints toward homeschooling. And so now let's go ahead and have Kirk. Kirk will be joining us here, and we'll talk about his new movie, The Homeschool Awakening. Well, hi, Kirk. It's great to have you with us today.
Hey, Jamie, good to talk to you. Thanks for taking some time to talk with me about Homeschool Awakening.
Of course. So we're really excited about your new film, The Homeschool Awakening. It's obvious
Hmm.
that homeschooling is a topic that you're passionate about. And before we jump in and start talking about your movie specifically, I'd like you to share maybe just a little bit with our community about what brought you to homeschooling and why you feel homeschooling is so important.
Sure, I would love to. So it's a kind of a crazy journey. I wasn't homeschooled as a kid. I went to public school. My dad is a public school teacher, and so is my grandmother and my grandfather. And I had a healthy fear of homeschooling ever since I heard of it. And I thought, well, wow, I mean, I guess I saw it on Little House on the Prairie, and I've seen pictures of people in head coverings and floor length denim skirts churning their own butter. But I don't think that's us. and, and so it wasn't until my wife and I were trying to figure out what we were going to do with our 6 children after the 6th grade. We had originally had them in a great little private school, and then middle school just sort of threw us into a panic because the options were not good. We weren't going to send them to public school, and we didn't like the private school options. And a friend said, have you considered homeschooling? And I thought, well, no. I mean, I care about the education of my children, and I'm not a science teacher. I'm not a history teacher. My wife's not either. And they said, well, no, 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 no. This is not about trying to bring the public school into your house. This is a whole new world. And he opened my eyes to the community, to the curriculums, to the freedom, to the flexibility. And I was really just blown away. And as we began to wade into these waters, it was scary, but it was also exhilarating. And we homeschooled our 6 kids, some all the way through high school. Some went back to a private school for a variety of reasons for the last couple of years. But it was one of the best decisions we ever made for our family.
Lovely. And I just want to share real quick. I'm also a mom of 6, homeschooled 6 kids. Always an adventure,
Oh,
isn't
great.
it? Lots of fun.
It is
Um,
always an adventure.
yeah, something's always going on or breaking. So another question I had for you. In recent days, we've seen homeschooling, obviously because it's become so popular, it's becoming also politicized and polarized, if you want to even say it that way. I've even wanted to mention, I read a recent article where they claimed that homeschooling was hijacked. But just thinking about it logically, you have to realize homeschooling just can't be hijacked. Homeschooling is by nature something unique to each family. And with homeschooling, we see families doing what fits them best. And isn't that the lovely part of homeschooling? But my question for you today is, with all of this political aspect of how they're taking homeschooling, they're judging it, they're creating it into kind of something that it's really not, and not meant to be. What do you see as the future of homeschooling, kind of in conjunction with our changing American culture and this political climate?
So great question. A couple of parts to it there. So number one, why would they be politicizing or trying to come down on homeschooling? Well, clearly our public education system, which by the way has no place as a federal department. Now that may sound Kirk. What are you talking about? You're not a constitutionalist. You're not a listen. I have a pocket copy of the Constitution. You go through there and you won't find anything in there about education. The idea of a federal Department of Education is not only not in the Constitution, it's actually prohibited by the amendments in the Constitution. And the reason that it's so important for those who would like to fundamentally change America is that you get kids for 7-8 hours a day to disciple them. This is how you train them. This is what people understand is the way God made the world. You control the textbooks. You own the future. And if you can teach your children to hate God, hate the Bible, and hate the principles of America, you can turn them into little Marxist revolutionaries. And not only that, you can tax the people with these new principles and get them to pay for it. And that's fundamentally what we're doing, is we're paying a federal government who's becoming increasingly more secular to indoctrinate our children to become little revolutionaries and undermine everything that we really want to teach our kids as people of faith and people who love a free republic like America. So add to that going to homeschool your kids, you're fundamentally taking money away from teachers, you're taking money away from these unions. And when you're defunding these things by taking back the education of your children, people are going to get angry. So they want to stop that by demonizing it and telling everyone that you're anti-America or you're anti-education.
Mhm.
But saying that we are anti-education because we're calling out the nonsense that kids are being taught in public schools is like saying that we're anti-human because we hate cancer. If we want to take back this country to be a shining city on a hill among all the nations and a torch of liberty for the world, we must get back to what our founding fathers and founding mothers said was essential.
Right.
And that is the principles of Christianity. I didn't make that up. Noah Webster said that. George Washington said that. Sam Adams said that. Noah Webster, who gave us the Webster's Dictionary, was also a founding father and the father of American scholarship and education. He trained the first 5 generations of children how to spell with his famous blueback spellers that sold over 100 million copies. And he said the purpose of education is to, wait for it, teach children the principles of Christianity. He said these are not only the first principles that must be taught, but the most important principles, because he understood that this is what produces individuals with character, families that flourish, and the form of government that supports a free republic. And so you don't even have to be a Christian to love the principles of Christianity, like the 10 Commandments. Mm-hmm. Do unto others as they have you'd have them do unto you. Love God, love your neighbor, because without them, history teaches us you lead toward tyranny and bondage, no matter what you believe or don't believe. That's why millions of people come here. They come here illegally. They break the law to get in here. They're not running away from America. They're running to America because we have more opportunity and blessing and freedom. And that's what our kids are not being taught. They're being taught the opposite of that. And that's why parents are finally waking up and doing something about it.
I completely agree. So this past week, I saw an amazing trailer for your upcoming movie. And I just have to say, if I wasn't already a homeschooler, that trailer alone would make me want to become one, because I really love.
Oh, that's so encouraging.
I love that part where one of the moms was given her testimony, and she was talking about how she initially thought homeschooling was a sacrifice, and then realized that it wasn't a sacrifice at all, but a gift. And I've said that several times to my husband over the years, that, you know, now 15 years later, I see that it was an amazing journey, a priceless gift, not for my children, but for me, because I've been able to spend time with my children through all these years. But so with that being said, that trailer makes me want to know more about your movie. So will you explain why you named your movie The Homeschool Awakening?
Sure. You know, I think that in this nation, and millions of Christians, millions of atheists, millions of patriots, and even communists would agree that there is such division and coordinated division that I believe we could very easily be headed for a revolution, another civil war. We're already in a war of ideas that are diametrically opposed to one another. The Western civilization was built on the Judeo-Christian principles of the Bible, where the government is not God. Government is a servant of God for the good of the people. And God has decentralized power, put it into the hands of individuals who are to be self-governing. And then we train up our children in God's ways. And then we've got people of character who can lead our churches, our businesses, and government to restrain evil and cause humanity to flourish. That is not what's being taught on social media and to our children through the public school system. So this Homeschool Awakening movie is all about a parent-led movement that includes all sorts of people. And they want something better for their kids. And I believe there are now, I think about 8 million homeschool children. Maybe you've got more updated statistics than I do, but it has increased. It's exploded because of COVID. And the Homeschool Awakening documents 17 families, from families that live on farms, families that live in cities, that live in the suburbs, and shows what would it be like if you could create school for your kids in such a way that they're not trapped in 4 walls for 7-8 hours a day, learning things you don't want them to learn, and actually teaching them your values, your faith, understanding this beautiful world that God's made. You're able to travel. You're not stuck in a rigid schedule, and you're able to actually lean in to your children's strengths and learning styles. And you're not stuck inside a building at all if you don't want to be. You actually have the whole world as your classroom. And we show kids who got their pilot's license at 14 years old, families who are running businesses together. My niece is part of one of those families, and she's got a cake and cupcake baking business that is just exploding. And they're learning how to be self-sufficient as a family. They're passing on their faith to their children. And I'm seeing these kids grow up and going to the best colleges, getting scholarships, and going on to make a massive impact for the good in the world. Homeschooling is a great hope for the future and for revival. And the Homeschool Awakening documents how all of that happens, answers your how-to questions, shows you the ins and outs, and shows you how families are doing this successfully.
Great. And a great chance for those who may be considering homeschooling and thinking about, if it might be a good fit for them. So this would be a great movie for them to go and see.
Yeah, 100%. Jamie, if there are people who are watching, listening right now, and you have questions, you're like, what, I don't like what my kids are learning in school, but I can't afford to send them to a private school, or I'm a single parent and I can't be at home to homeschool my kids, or we're a double income family. What do we do? Watch the Homeschool Awakening. We're going to answer many, if not all, of those questions. We've only got an hour and a half in the theaters to do that. So we do our very best, but you will hear from moms, from dads, and from the kids themselves. That will talk about how they did it, how they are doing it. And a lot of it is you're figuring out what works best for your family. There are so many curriculums. There are so many different processes and ways to go about this, and a community of people who want to help you, because they understand that if we're going to take back this nation, we first got to take back our families. Right. And many of us have just lost our families. We feel like the public school system and their friends and their phones have run away with the hearts and minds and souls of our children, and we don't know what to do. It's like this big machine that is just in overdrive, and we've lost our children. No, you haven't. There is hope. There is options. Mom, you need to get a backbone that's filled with steel, and be slip into this victim mentality. Dads, your kids need you. Your wives need you. Grandparents, it's not time to just throw in the towel and move to Florida and collect seashells. This is the time to train your children and help your children train their children to know God and to be filled with character and courage and stand for what's right. If we do that, God will bless us. He'll take care of our enemies. And I believe that we can see revival again in America.
So this movie is not just for people who are interested in homeschooling, but also for homeschoolers who might need some inspiration. Sounds like a perfect.
Absolutely. Listen, that's right. And nothing good is easy, right? No. Marriage is a blessing from God, but it is not easy. In fact, it's a great school to teach you how to be a man or woman of character. That goes against the selfish nature that we are born with. And so training our children up in the way they should go, teaching them in the nurture and the admonition of the Lord, is a process that refines us as parents. I know Heidi St. John, who many of you know and love, once said, "Hey, if parenting does not bring you to your knees by the end of the day, you're not doing it right." And it's true, right? We're just like, oh God, help me. Are we doing this right? Please, we need your help and your grace. And it's not easy, but it is worth it because our kids are worth it and because God is worth it.
Absolutely. So, can you tell us how we can go about seeing your movie? I know it's supposed to open June 13th and 14th.
Yeah. So the movie it's a big deal. It's in movie theaters. We just went and saw Top Gun the other night, and that was an exciting movie. Well, go see the Homeschool Awakening because this is about your kids and about their future.
Right.
And you can see it in movie theaters June 13th and 14th. But here's the thing: you got to reserve your tickets because if the movie is playing in a theater near you, once the tickets are sold, it's out. There's no more tickets. And so if you go to thehomeschoolawakening.com, you can reserve your tickets right there on the website. You can watch that exciting trailer that Jamie's talking about. You can reserve your tickets, get great seats, and reserve them now because some theaters are already sold out. Mm-hmm. And so your theater might be sold out or close to it. So get your friends, get your tickets at thehomeschoolawakening.com. And if you can't remember that, just go to kirkcameron.com. I've got a link there.
Right, right. So I did that. And I noticed that you could put your zip code in and find out which theaters are still available.
Yeah, exactly. That's how it works. So don't just think you're going to just stroll down to your local theater complex and find it. It's in specific theaters. So go to the website, thehomeschoolawakening.com, type in your zip code, and it'll say, oh, here's where it's playing. And then you can go to that theater through the link and reserve your seats and buy them early.
Cool. I also noticed that there was a group option. So if you wanted to attend with your church group or your co-op homeschool group, you can do that as well.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah. This is a great thing to invite your friends to, your homeschool friends and those family members or friends who are skeptical or curious or want to know, well, how do I do this? What's it like? Are these just a bunch of Amish people who are like sequestering their children inside their house? They never get outside and socialize with other kids. It's the opposite of that. And this movie will show it to them in glorious color, with beautiful music, and they'll be inspired. So group rates, bulk discounts are available for churches, for school groups, co-ops, and just go to the website, check it out, and reserve your seats early.
All right. Yep. So go to thehomeschoolawakening.com or kirkcameron.com and buy your tickets today. So thank you so much for joining us today, Kirk.
Oh man, it's my pleasure. And thank you for all that you're doing. And thank you everyone out there who is getting off the defense. And instead of complaining about the darkness, you're shining the light by getting on the offense with your kids. And we only have one shot at this, right? God's given our kids to us for just a certain number of years. Thank you for what you're doing. It's working.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. God bless you.